Hi, everyone. This is Nancy. Thank you for your patience and having me come on this evening. Um, it's having like a little wardrobe malfunction here, but I am here. We are continuing our study on Revelation this evening. We are actually today on Revelation chapter 13. So we're going to go ahead and get started. Um, we're actually on chapter 12, excuse me. I'm going to be looking at giving a lot of references today because there's a lot of symbolism in chapter 12. So I did get a hard copy of Revelation Expounded. This looks like an older version and by Finesse Dake. And that's fine with me. I got used books. I buy used books too because most of the time when they get sold, they're practically unread. So this one, as I was thumbing through it today, it doesn't have a lot. I mean, nobody's really looked at. I actually used a highlighter in several parts today. It doesn't look like it was read, so it still works. So I'm going to be referencing this book quite a bit. I started out Revelation with this book, so we're just going to continue with that. Okay, so the first verse is for Revelation 12:1. And there appeared a great wonder in heaven, a woman clothed with the sun and the moon under her feet, and upon her head a crown of 12 stars. Well, I've said before that number 12 usually represents the 12 tribes of Israel. Um, we're going to find out more about who this woman is, though, because I know I want to know, and this is supposed to be a women centered Bible study. So, when women are discussed, I usually like to spend a little bit of time on that. So, let's go ahead and dive into that. So, I am in chapter 16 of Revelation Expounded, and this is what it says. In these passages, a complete revelation of the woman as to her identification, motherhood, persecution, flight, and protection is given. These subjects, in conjunction with other scriptures, will now be taken up in their logical order. So it starts out with the identification of the woman. Reviews Revelation 12:1, which I just read. And so now let's go ahead and get into what does this woman represent? Well, wonder here in the Greek, Simeon means a sign and should be translated in every passage where it is used. It has regard to the significance of the word wrought, whether in itself or in reason, object, design, and teaching intended to be conveyed by it. So here it says there was seen a great sign in heaven, is the idea conveyed. The symbol was seen in heaven by John, Apostle John, but what it symbolized by the woman is in earth, as is proved by the following. So we want to find out who is this woman and who is a man child that's discussed in Revelation 12:1. Well, when I first started this study, I was very specific in saying that I needed some help while I was studying Revelation. So I got that help from these different experts on the book, because I'm definitely not one of them. And I said I was going to be pulling a lot from the Date Publishing Company. So that's what I'm doing tonight. I had mentioned before that my mother has spoken at some of Date's, the publishing company's conferences. And I stay in touch with at least one member of the Date family. I don't want to put her on the spot because she might not want me to do that. But hopefully she'll join us at some point. So I do have their blessing to use their material. Let's see. The symbol was seen in heaven by John, but what is symbolized by the woman is in the earth, as it proved by the following. So number one, it states in Revelation 12:5 that this man child will be caught up in heaven as at its deliverance, and such could not be true if the woman were in heaven. So we also know that this man child that they mentioned in Revelation chapter 12 was not Jesus. because he doesn't need to be delivered. He's already been delivered. Number 2, the woman will flee into the wilderness, which is on earth. That's in Revelation 12:6. Number 3, when the dragon is cast to the earth, he will persecute the woman. That's in Revelations 13. Excuse me. Number 4, the earth will help the woman and swallow the flood that is cast out of the dragon's mouth to devour her. This could not be said of her if she were in heaven. So let's go over who the woman is not first. The woman cannot be a symbol of the Virgin Mary, the church, or Christendom. We shall see in the 4 theories on the man-child. They said in the next chapter. Well, we might not even get that far today. So according to Dake, he argues that the woman symbolizes the nation of Israel. Now he does preface this. He says he firmly believes this. So this is based on all of the scholarly work that he's done on the Bible. He's not even 100% sure if this woman symbolizes the nation of Israel or not. But he basically uses process of elimination to say this is who this woman symbolizes, the sun-clothed woman. So let's read further. By this term, we mean all the Israelites who will be back in Palestine during the 70th week and form the nation at that time. The Jews in all other lands will remain as they are today and will not be gathered back to their land until the second advent. That's the second coming to Jesus. Reasons why the woman symbolizes the nation of Israel are, and then Dakes lists them. He gives 4 reasons. 1, Israel is often mentioned in the Old Testament as a married woman. Number 2, the Bible recognizes only 3 classes of people in the world today: the church, the Jews, and the Gentiles. Number 3, so the church are those who are in the body of Christ. The Jews, we know who the Jews are. And then the Gentiles are anyone who's a non-believer. I just want to throw that out there for anyone who has not been with me since the beginning. And then number 3, if the sun, moon, and 12 stars mean anything, they can only symbolize the same as was seen in the dream of Joseph in Genesis 37, 9 through 11, namely the 12 tribal heads and their parents. Here, the whole 12 tribes are seen in national restoration and the symbol of the woman. And number 4, Israel is the only one dealt with in scripture that could fulfill the statements concerning the woman, as it is clear from the following studies. So once again, this is his opinion, is his belief. He's no longer alive, but his works live on. So that's the best I can come up with as well. Like I said, I'm not no expert on the Bible by any stretch. Okay, 2. Let's move on to Revelation chapter 12, verse 2. And it says, and she being with child cried, travailing in birth and pain to be delivered. So some people who are not scholars of the Bible say, well, whoever this woman is, she gave birth to Jesus. Well, at this time, Jesus he had already been born, crucified, resurrected. So it's not Jesus. Let's read Dake's explanation. When I say Dake's, I mean saying it's his explanation. His name doesn't end in S. So it says the word travailing is from the Greek odon, which is used here and in Galatians 4:19, and it gives some other scriptural passages, and means to experience the pains of childbirth, whether literally or figuratively. Here it is used in a figurative sense, for the woman is a symbol and therefore cannot literally travail. So once again, she's a symbol, and who she's giving birth to is a symbol as well. She's not literally giving, a symbol that's not a real person, can't give birth, or even like an animal. It's not a creature. The Greek word for pain means tormented, as is translated, and gives some references for the translation. This helps us to understand that the travail and pain of Israel in the whole 70th week is caused by the same sort of punishment she has always undergone under Gentile rule. The travails of Israel have been numerous in her past history, as is clearly revealed in her bondages and deliverance, which began with Israel and Egypt, and in the period of the judges and kings, they have continued more or less and will finally culminate in the worst period of travail she has known. There is to be a future continued travail of Israel in the tribulation week with a twofold result. So he's saying this is what's going to happen during those 7 days, which we call the tribulation week. Remember, the first 3.5 years is the lesser tribulation. The last 3.5 years is the greater tribulation. So let's see what happens with that. Number one, the deliverance of the man-child in the middle of the week. This will be the result of the terrible anguish and sorrow of Israel in the middle of the week, because the Antichrist, with whom she has made a 7-year covenant as a guarantee of her protection from the great horror, and the 10 kings of revised Rome, will have broken this covenant and determined to completely destroy her. At this time of travail, the man-child is to be delivered, because that company will not be deserving of the great tribulation, which will follow immediately. The Antichrist will be defeated in his purpose of destroying Israel at that time by the tidings out of the north and east. Let's look at the last part of this explanation. The result of the travail of Israel at this time will be that God will undertake by the catching up the man-child. After that, he will supernaturally protect the woman in the wilderness and the remnant in Palestine by occupying this attention of the Antichrist through the threatenings of the northern and eastern nations, as stated above. Okay, number two. Here's the second result. The deliverance of the woman herself at the end of the week, when the Antichrist with many nations tries to destroy Israel. It says the result of this travail will be the conversion of Israel and the defeat of the Antichrist by the return of Christ to the earth with the saints and angels to exalt Israel and set up his own kingdom. That's Jesus' kingdom. Okay, let's keep reading Revelation 12, verse 3. And there appeared another wonder in heaven, and behold, a great red dragon, having 7 heads and 10 horns, and 7 crowns upon his heads. We can imagine that this great red dragon is Satan. So I'm going to take a look at chapter 19, page 137, if you have the book with you, because I did say this was going to be my companion while I was looking at the book of Revelation. I will read, now I'm going to read from the book, Revelation 12, verses 3 and 4. And there appeared another wonder in heaven. A sign is another word for wonder. And behold, a great red dragon, having 7 heads and 10 horns, and 7 crowns upon his heads. And his tail drew the third part of the stars of heaven and did cast them to the earth. Remember, when Lucifer fell, he took a third of the angels with him, and the dragon stood before the woman, which was ready to be delivered, for to devour her child as soon as it was born. Here's Date's explanation of the red dragon. The word dragon is used 13 times and only in Revelation. It is a symbol of Satan, the chief adversary of God. Revelation 12:9. This is the first time he is mentioned in Revelation. We must distinguish between the symbol and the thing symbolized, as in all other symbols. The great red dragon is a fitting symbol of Satan in his role as the relentless persecutor and murderer of multitudes of unfortunate people. He's also portrayed as the Leviathan, the piercing serpent, the crooked serpent, and the dragon that is in the sea. Okay, the 7 heads and 10 horns symbolize the same 7 world kingdoms as the 7 heads and 10 horns of the beast out of the sea. That's later on in Revelation 13, and have all been or will be used by God and his purpose in judging Israel from the beginning of her history to Christ's coming. Once again, I was talking yesterday about Assyria and Babylon. Let's see. Okay, so he lists here the 7 countries that represent let's see, the 7 heads. He says they're Egypt, Assyria, Babylon, Medio Persia, Greece, Rome, and the 10 kingdoms of revised Rome, as we shall see in our study of Revelation 17. We haven't gotten there yet, so I'll talk about that once we get to Revelation 17. I'll make a note of that tonight. The heads being crowned shows that Satan has reigned and will reign over these 7 kingdoms. So those are the 7 kingdoms that I just named: Egypt, Assyria, Babylon, which is Iraq today, Medio Persia, Greece, Rome, and the 10 kingdoms of the revised Rome. He has tried to destroy Israel under the first 6 kingdoms and will try to do so under the 7th or revised Rome, but he will meet defeat by God as on all previous occasions. So we know during Jesus' time that the Roman Empire was the strongest empire in the world, but that's no longer the case. So this revised Rome, I'm going to assume, is some of those Asian or Middle Eastern countries that I was talking about yesterday, but I might be wrong. Okay, so that explains who the beast is. That's chapter 13. Oh, the dragon. That's why I was reading that. Okay. We'll read more about the beast of the sea in chapter 13. Okay, verse 5. And she brought forth a man-child who was to rule all nations with a rod of iron, and her child was caught up unto God and to his throne. So I was really curious to find out who exactly is this man-child. We know that we receive more clarity by asking questions, and also questions help us learn as well, because we're going to dig until we can find some of the answers to those questions. So I wanted to know who this man-child was. Looking at it at first glance, you might think it's Jesus, but it is not. Dake does provide an explanation of who the man-child is, and that is in chapter 18 of this book. That's on pages 128 to 129. I'm just going to read a short part of that passage. Here is what Dake says, what his belief is. Once again, with him being a Bible scholar, he can't say that he has definite proof from the Bible, but he says this is what he believes, or who he believes this man-child is. We believe that the man-child symbolizes 144,000 Jews who are the first fruits to God from Israel after the rapture of all Jews of the church in the Old Testament saints. The reasons are: 1, it has been conclusively proved that the woman represents Israel. So he's saying he has proof of that. The man-child then can only represent a company of Jews out of Israel. He also talked about the remnant that I talked about yesterday. So he said the remnant is a company, so the man-child must, or of necessity, represent a company of Jews in order to fulfill the plain statements of Revelation 12. So yesterday I was saying that a remnant is always a group of people who are, they have the conviction, they're not moving from what they originally believed. However, Dake said that a remnant only refers to Jews or Israel. Let's see. Next, number 2. So he gives the following reasons. He gives 6, 7. He gives about 8 reasons. Let me see. 8 reasons as why the man-child represents the 144,000 Jews that were ministering or evangelizing the earth after the rapture. I'm only going to go over about 3 of them. So 1, he says he has proof that this woman represents Israel. 2, we have seen that the woman cannot be the spirit of Christendom or the church, and that the man-child cannot be the church or overcomers out of the church or any Gentile Christians. And here he says he uses process of elimination, that the only group left would be the Jews. Okay, next, number 3, the man-child represents a company of living saints only, for the woman will travail and bring forth the complete man-child in the middle of the week, in the middle of the tribulation period, which lasted for 7 years. So they'll often use the word week to represent the tribulation. She cannot bring forth a partly dead or partly living child at this time. The dragon will stand before the woman to devour her child as soon as it is born, but the child will be immediately caught up to God and to his throne. Well, yesterday I talked about how the 144,000 were raptured before the Antichrist could devour them. This proves that the man child represents a company of living people only who will be still in natural bodies with the possibility of being killed. Number 4, an explanation or examination of Revelation 7 and 14 shows the 144,000 of Israel to be the man child. We already read Revelation 7. I can go into Revelation 14 more in depth once we get there. The destiny of the 144,000 proves them to be the man child. This will appear before the throne in heaven and before the 4 beasts and the elders who are before the throne. It is expressly stated that they will be redeemed from the earth and from among men. Number 3, the rapture, the time of the rapture of the 144,000 shows them to be represented by the man child. I'll go on to I thought that was number 4. That was number 3. Okay, number 4. The place in which John saw the 144,000 further proves that they will be in heaven before the second advent of Christ to earth and necessarily must be raptured before them. When, if not as a man child? John seemed to see this company at 2 places, namely on Mount Zion in heaven before God. Some argue that this Mount Zion is the earthly one and that the whole scene must be earthly, but we are convinced that Revelation 14:1 is heavenly and refers to the heavenly Mount Zion and then it talks about Mount Zion if it was the figurative or literal. And the Bible goes a lot back and forth between literal and figurative language. So I'm going to stop there. Feel free to get the book. I told you this is my companion text, Revelation Expounded, along with Jesus is a Revelation. So I've looked at multiple sources. I've looked at online. I also talked about Mike Evans' book. So there's plenty of references that I've given. You just have to find the one that works best for you and speaks to you. All right. So I'm going to pick up. Now we believe, according to Dake, that the man child is the 144,000 Jews. Verse 6, and the woman fled into the wilderness where she has a place prepared of God that they should feed her there 1,203 days, which should be 3.5 years. Verse 7, and there was war in heaven. Michael is an archangel, and his angels fought against the dragon. The dragon, I said before, represents Satan. And the dragon fought in his angels. Verse 8, and prevailed not, neither was there a place found any more in heaven. Verse 9, and the great dragon was cast out, that old serpent called the devil and Satan, which deceives the whole world. He was cast out into the earth, and his angels were cast out with him. Yay! So we once again see that we have the victory. Verse 10, and I heard a loud voice saying in heaven, now is come salvation and strength in the kingdom of our God and the power of his Christ. For the accuser of our brethren is cast down, which accused them before our God day and night. Verse 11, I've quoted this scripture before. And they overcame him by the blood of the Lamb and by the word of their testimony, and they loved not their lives unto the death. Verse 12, therefore rejoice, ye heavens, and ye that dwell in them. Woe to the inhabitants of the earth and of the sea, for the devil is come down unto you, having great wrath, because he knows that he has but a short time. And when the dragon saw that he was cast unto the earth, he persecuted the woman which brought forth the man child. So once again, we see that Israel is persecuted. Israel brought forth, according to Dake's interpretation, 144,000 Jewish men who evangelized the earth after the rapture. Verse 14, and to the woman were given 2 wings of a great eagle, that she might fly into the wilderness, into her place where she is nourished for a time and times and half a time from the face of the serpent. Verse 15, and the serpent cast out of his mouth water as a flood after the woman, that he might cause her to be carried away of the flood. Verse 16, and the earth helped the woman, and the earth opened her mouth and swallowed up the flood, which the dragon cast out of his mouth. Verse 17, and the dragon was wroth with the woman. He was angry with the woman and went to make war with the remnant of her seed, probably that 144,000, which kept the commandments of God and have the testimony of Jesus Christ. So that is chapter 12. Let's see. Chapter 13 talks about the beast. I am going to I'll go ahead and start that chapter as well. That is chapter 20 of Revelation Expounded, which is on page 142. I'm going to read verses 1 through 6. And I stood upon the sand of the sea and saw a beast rise up out of the sea, having 7 heads and 10 horns, and upon his horns 10 crowns, and upon his heads the name of blasphemy. And the beast which I saw was like unto a leopard, and his feet were as the feet of a bear, and his mouth as the mouth of a lion. And the dragon gave him his power and his seat and great authority. And I saw one of his heads, as it were, wounded to death, and his deadly wound was healed, and all the world wondered after the beast. And they worshipped the dragon, which gave power unto the beast, and they worshipped the beast, saying, who is like unto the beast? Who is able to make war with him? And there was given unto him a mouth speaking great things and blasphemies, and power was given unto him to continue 42 months. Well, let's see who the beast of the sea is. It is proclaimed that the pronoun I of Revelation 13:1 is Satan speaking, but it says that such a theory is false. Revelation 13 gives the effect upon earth of the casting out of Satan. Who is he? First, he says he wants to examine the passage to see what it has to say about the beast out of the sea. For the explanation of the beast with his heads, horns, crowns, names of blasphemy, feet, head wounded to death, it says see chapters 30 to 35. Then he says the sea is symbolic of peoples. The beast in Revelation refers to the rise of a kingdom, and more particularly to the Antichrist, the earthly head of this kingdom. It also symbolizes a supernatural spirit out of the abyss, as we shall later see. Beasts as symbols symbolize either the kingdom or king, as well as supernatural powers which control the kingdom. The personal Antichrist, his power, source of power, worship, mouth, exaltation, wars, characteristics, titles, reign, length of reign are the subject of this passage. So, a lot of you are asking who is the Antichrist. Mike Evans predicts that he prophesies that the Antichrist will come out of Russia, but the Antichrist, he did that by process of elimination. The Antichrist has really not been revealed yet and will not be until the rapture of the church. So please do not say that I said a certain political figure is Antichrist. I'm not saying that at all. By the time we had the rapture, the person that you all are probably thinking of and I'm thinking of might not even still be alive. So he very well will likely not be the Antichrist revealed at that time. Okay, Revelation 13. So I just read verses 1 through 6. Um, I'll go ahead and finish the chapter, verse 7. And it was given unto him to make war with the saints and to overcome them, and power was given him over all kindreds and tongues and nations. Verse 8, and all that dwell upon the earth. Well, you all know that Satan is the prince of the air. He is the prince of this world right now. Verse 8, and all that dwell upon the earth shall worship him, whose names are not written in the book of life of the Lamb, slain from the foundation of the world. So here this is talking about Jesus. One reason why we know is that the Bible talks about our names being written in the Lamb's book of life, and this L is also capitalized. Verse 9, if any man has an ear, let him hear. He that leadeth into captivity shall go into captivity. He that kills with the sword must be killed with the sword. Here is the patience and faith of the saints. Verse 11, and I beheld another beast coming out of the earth, and he had two horns like a lamb, and he spake as a dragon. This is likely the same dragon that we saw in chapter 12. And he exercised all power of the first beast before him, and caused the earth and them which dwell therein to worship the first beast, whose deadly wound was healed. And he does great wonders, so that he makes fire come down from heaven on the earth in the sight of men, and deceives them that dwell on the earth by means of those miracles which he had power to do in the sight of the beast, saying to them that dwell on the earth, that they shall make an image to the beast, which had the wound up by a sword and did live. And he had power to give life unto the image of the beast, that the image of the beast should both speak and cause that as many as would not worship the image of the beast should be killed. And he causes all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark on their right hand or in their foreheads. Well, this is where we see the mark of the beast, that 666 sign or symbol, and that no man might buy or sell, save he have that mark, or the name of the beast, or the number of his name. Here is wisdom. Let him that have understanding count the number of the beast, for it is the number of a man, and his number is 666. That's 666. So, we're getting to that time. I mean, technology is steadily increasing. That's a sign of the end of the times. We talked about that here is saying that they're going to have the mark of the beast. I think there's a chip out now where people can use that to like purchase items, or that's on the way. So we're getting very close to the end times. So stay tuned. I'm excited. That was chapters 12 and 13. A lot happened in both of those two chapters. We'll pick up next time with chapter 14 as we continue our journey through the book of Revelation. Everybody have a blessed night. I will see you all next time. It might be Saturday. It could be before then. So stay tuned. Bye-bye.